Raider Nation, what's the deal? This is the Antisocial Raider, where all we doing is talking football. And today, I got a couple things I want to talk to you about, man. But we're gonna kick it off with Fernando Mendoza. If you have not heard, yesterday Daniel Jeremiah was on the Pat McAfee show, where he essentially stated that Fernando Mendoza has been training with Brian Griese, and they have been installing the Raiders' offense. Now, for those of you that don't know, Brian Griese was teammates with Tom Brady at Michigan. He was also drafted by the Denver Broncos, where Gary Kubiak was coaching, and he was also coaching with Clint Kubiak in San Francisco. Now, initially, when I heard this, I called cap. I called bullshit. You know what I mean? I seen somebody post about it, went straight to the comments like, but I had to delete it, man. I had to delete it and I had to take a step back because, at times I get too ahead of myself and I tend to think that I know everything when I don't know everything. And, I had to delete it, take a step back, man, do a little bit of research, man. And this is what I came up with, right? So everybody brings up Joe Burrow, right? It's a well known fact that this sort of happened with Joe Burrow when he was drafted. Now, the difference with Joe Burrow was that he was drafted during COVID, and the NFL, just like the rest of the world, had restrictions with meeting in person. And so, what the NFL did was basically give permission for teams to get ahead of schedule by, things like lending out the playbook. And so that's sort of what happened with Joe Burrow, due to COVID, due to restrictions, due to only meeting on Zoom, he was able to get the playbook, and I doubt he got the whole playbook, but I'm pretty sure, he got some of it, and therefore was able to get ahead of schedule. Now, there's other players who are in the uh, more similar situation than Fernando, like Trevor Lawrence. I think Zach Wilson um, experienced the same thing where they sort of got a playbook ahead of time, but it wasn't like the playbook. Now, my thoughts on the whole situation, I think that there's some truth to it, but I do think that it was worded in a way to where they can get Raider fans to sort of get happy and clip the video and post it and share links and do all that. That would eventually help their, channel or website or whatever it is that they got going on. And they succeeded like they always do, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, all we care about is Fernando Mendoza and him being drafted. Now, I do think that there is some truth to it. I do think that obviously he is training with Brian Griese. Nobody's refuting that. I just think that, it was a little misleading. I do think that, they could be. So, Fernando Mendoza, he's scheduled for a top 30 visit, right? They had Indiana has their pro day on April 1st, and then a week after that, he'll be meeting with the Raiders for a top 30 visit. So, what I think all of this has to do is that Fernando's training right now. He's training with Brian Griese. Brian Griese is training not only footwork and mechanics and all that, but also certain languages, right? Certain verbiage, certain route concepts, but not necessarily installing the playbook. Now, for the most part, every team uses every team uses a lot of the same stuff. It's just about how you combine everything, right? I mean, a route tree is a route tree. You know what I mean? But it's about how you put everything together. And I think that what they're doing is saying, hey, look, meet up with Fernando, right? Get him used to these things, these concepts, these words, these terms. And then by the time he comes into a top 30 visit, we can sit him down. We can go over everything that he's learned, see what he was able to absorb, see what he wasn't able to absorb, and then just kind of get a feel of how he learns, right? And then go from there, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure we all know that he's going to be drafted, right? He's going to be the number one overall pick. He's going to be the franchise quarterback of the Raiders. But at the same time, you want to take certain cautions, right? These are these are billion-dollar businesses, right? And you have to take you have to take cautious steps with the information that you give out, right? Because at the end of the day, anything can happen, right? I mean, we've seen it with the Maxx Crosby trade, and the way that John Spytek went about it was as if Maxx was still on the roster because he was, right? And so you have to take those necessary steps to where it doesn't come back and bite you, right? And so when you give this information to Fernando and you say, hey, we want you to learn all this stuff, right? It's not something to where this is super important and if it gets leaked out, then it's going to come back and it's going to ruin everything. I don't think it's a situation like that. You know what I mean? But I do think that the information that he's given, it's going to set him up good. It's going to lay a foundation for him to learn in the future. It's going to lay a foundation for the coaches to sort of set a plan to say, hey, this is how we're going to install during OTAs. We're going to do it in sequences. Boom, this much information, then this much information, then this much information. So that's it's a steady learning curve, right? A steady learning process. And so I think that, this whole thing with Daniel Jeremiah, this whole thing with Fernando and Brian Griese installing the offense, I think, there's truth to it for sure. I just think that it was said in a way that got Raider fans going a bit, but that's my thoughts on it. That's how I feel on the situation. Like I said earlier, I don't know everything, but also I want to know what y'all think, man. What information have y'all been able to find out, man? Can y'all give me some insight on how things work? What information y'all was able to look up and find out there, man? Because I want to know. You feel me? But excited about Fernando, excited about him training, excited about the top 30 visit, excited about the pro day, and we're gonna keep this moving, man. Another topic of discussion that's been going on lately, man, is been rumored. Well, not rumored, man. Najee Harris is coming to visit the Raiders. Kubiak has came out and said that it's important for Ashton Jeanty to have that running mate, in the backfield. And who that player is going to be has been a hot topic of discussion amongst Raider fans, man. And Najee Harris coming to visit with the Raiders is big, man. He was one of my favorite running back free agents left out there still. I like it. Obviously, I just said he was one of my favorites, man. Najee Harris fits in zone. Played in zone in Pittsburgh. As you can see, he's one of the best running backs in the league, man. The thing about it is that I'm not too worried about the eye injury he had. That's probably recovered by now. It's recovered by now, but the Achilles injury that he had last year, that's going to be the big question mark, man. And I just don't know. It's not like he's going to be taking a lot of the carries, but I expect him to be taking, 10 or more, right? I mean, if you're running the ball 30 times a game, Ashton Genty's getting somewhere between 15 and 20. Najee Harris should be getting somewhere between 10, 10 and 12. You know what I mean? But how is his injury holding up? You know, I'm sure. I mean, if there's issues, then they're not gonna sign him. But at the same time, I do want him to come because he's a good running back, man. But man, what do y'all think, man? Out of all the running backs out there, I think Brian Robinson was signed. That was another player, man. How do y'all feel about Najee Harris, man? Y'all think he still got it? Y'all think the injury's gonna hold him back? Do you guys think that there's another running back out there? You think that we should target a rookie instead of a veteran? I'm not. I'm not opposed to a rookie. I think that if it's not Najee Harris, then of course we should get a rookie. But what do y'all think, man? This whole situation is it's a lot going on, man. The draft is less than a month away, I think, man. It's getting close to that time where it's a whole lot of stuff going on, man. So this is it, man. I I just want to do something quick, something to talk about, something to engage, all 10 viewers. You know what I mean, man? But that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you were able to gain some perspective in some way, shape, or form. This is the Antisocial Raider. If you love football like I love football, man, go ahead and subscribe. If you like the content, then like the content. And if you got something you want to get off your chest, then drop a comment. Yeah.